Hi folks, in this demo I'll show you how PeerDB replicates a partition table in Postgres to Snowflake. As a part of this demo, I'll show you different scenarios of how PeerDB handles adding a new partition, adding a new column to the partition table, and also dropping an existing partition. So let's get started. I have an RDS Postgres database, right? And let me connect to it, right? And I'll go ahead and create the events table on the database, right? And then I'll create a couple of partitions for this table, one for the month of August and the other for the month of September. Next, let me add some rows to the partition table. I'm adding around 1000 rows if you see here, right? Next, let me go to PeerDB and kick off the replication. So in PeerDB, I have the peers that are created. If you see, I have the Postgres and Snowflake peer. I did this beforehand, right? I did that via the UI itself. I mean, you can click on the new peer and then, say Snowflake, and then you can fill out the Snowflake's credentials and the peer will be created, right? And I did the same thing for Postgres as well. And Postgres can be, any Postgres database on RDS or Azure or GCP or on-premise, it can be anywhere. Now let's go ahead and create the mirror, which does the replication. Here, the mirror type, I chose CDC, which means that it uses logical replication slot under the covers. There is query replication and XMIN, which are out of scope as a part of this demo, right? And then I'll name this demo as CDC underscore events, right? I'll put the source table as public.events, right? And the destination table, also I'll name it as public.events. So I'm qualifying it with a schema. And if you see, I'm just specifying the parent table of the partition table, right? I'm not specifying each partition. I'm just specifying the parent table. And this destination table doesn't exist on Snowflake. Let's quickly go to Snowflake and query the Snowflake table, right? And if you see, this particular table doesn't exist on Snowflake, right? Now, let me select the source peer, which is Postgres, target peer, which is Snowflake peer, right? Initial copy, I'll set it to yes, because I want the initial 1000 rows that I inserted also to be, moved to the Snowflake target. Publication name, I'll set it to p underscore all. Prior to this demo, I created a publication which captures all the tables. So that is one important thing, that while you're replicating partition tables, the publication should be created for all the tables in the database, because that is how PeerDB can replicate the newly added partitions, right? So replication slot name, I'll leave it as blank. I'll leave it for PeerDB to create that, right? The rest of them I'll leave it as default. And then here CDC sync mode, I'll put as Avro. And then the same with snapshot sync mode. And then the rest of them I can leave it as defaults. And then let me go ahead and kick off the mirror, right? Then let me click on the mirror and let's go to initial copy. And let's see whether the initial copy of the 1000 rows is completed. Looks like it is completed. Now let me go to Snowflake and now see the data, right? And here goes the data. So PeerDB automatically created this table on Snowflake, right? And the initial snapshot is done. Now let me go ahead and add some more rows to the events table, right? Added 1000 more rows, right? This is where the change data capture kicks in. PeerDB reads from the logical replication slot that is created under the covers and then replicates it to Snowflake. So let's go ahead and see whether these rows are replicated to Snowflake. There should be 2000 rows. Let's see. Still 1000. It's in the replication process. It will take 5-10 seconds. Let's give it some time. And if you see, here goes the rest of the 1000 rows, right? Next, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create the partition for October, right? So here I'm doing a create table, if you see, right? And I'm creating a partition for the month of October, right? And then let me go ahead and ingest data for that month, which is the October month, right? One more 1000 rows, right? And then let me count the records and I can, directly query that partition to, right? If you see, there are 1000 records for October. Now let's go to Snowflake and see whether these rows are replicated. Let me do a count star, and if you see, it's 3000 now, right? And let's go ahead and check what is the status of data in October, right? You see, this should be 1000 rows. And this is the 1000 rows that I added on the source Postgres database, right? Now, the next thing that I'll show you is, let's go ahead and add a column, right? So let me go ahead to Postgres and I'll add a column. And then I'll call this as new underscore column. Say it's a text, right? Then I'll add some data also to that column, right? Okay, I added around 1000 rows. And if you see, this should be there. Let's go ahead to Snowflake directly and see what happens. So let me do select star from events, right? And then let's see whether that column appeared, right? The new column is already there. And if you see, the new data is also there, right? And let me also count how many rows are there with this column populated, right? Where new underscore column is not null, right? It should be 1000 rows. And that's what you see here, right? And next what I'll do is I'll go ahead and drop a partition. Say I'll drop the partition that I created, which is October itself, right? For that I can just do drop table and then October, right? And now let's see what PeerDB does here. So this is a design trade-off. What we did is, I mean, we don't propagate the drop partition, right? Like the data in Snowflake will still remain for the month of October. This is more a design choice because we don't want to delete data on the target database, right? But if there is a need for you, then you can let us know, and we can add that feature where drop also gets propagated. But we intentionally, don't want to delete any data in the warehouse, because warehouse has everything, right? So if you see, right, like I showed you three things: adding a new partition and PeerDB replicating that partition seamlessly to Snowflake. Next is schema changes, where I added a new column and showed you, the new column getting automatically added to Snowflake and the data also getting populated. And the third is drop partition, where we don't like drop the data on, the Snowflake side, mostly for, design reasons, because we want to keep all the data on the warehouse. So hope you enjoyed this demo. If you want to test out PeerDB, go and check out our GitHub repo and get started from there. Thank you.